What was your school's incident? When I was in primary school, for you know English, that's 3 to 11 years old, there was an older kid, I say older, but he was just 11. Anyway, he arranged a great escape. The school playground linked to the teacher's car park through a big ass field we wasn't allowed on. From the car park you could climb a gate to get out. So, on the day of break time the kid sounded a whistle, no joking, like a war horn, and about 300 children sprinted across this field to freedom. Some kids just running for the hell of it, some following our noble leader like me. Teachers sprinted out, grabbing us and forming lines to stop us. About a dozen of us got through and made it to the car park, but a few teachers were there having cigarettes, so they tried stopping us. I was caught meters from the gate and saw all but one child hop it. The older guy. He was chased by the history teacher but got back home and spent the rest of the day playing video games. He's in jail for murder now. Not for long. There was a kid in my middle school with anger issues that no one knew had anger issues. He went on a rampage and smashed all of our display cases with his bare hands. Next day his fists were bandaged and he had to hold them over his head. He walked up to me and said, "Sorry dude, I just lost control." School trip to Russia in the early 90s. The maths teacher beat up a taxi driver. All the kids ran riot. They stayed in a hotel that had one of the floors sealed off, which turned out to be a knocking shop. One of the students fell in love with a hooker, went mad and had to be drugged by a doctor to get him to the airport when they were leaving. Our school never did international trips again. Edit. I just woke up to see this comment took off. Thanks for gold, stranger. Little more detail, we were from Ireland, our maths teacher was a black belt in taekwondo, taxi driver tried to scam him and then pulled a knife on him, two senior students joined in. Ages of students from 14 to 18. It was a complete shit show of a trip. A few people don't believe this story, which is unfortunate. But it did happen, I'm afraid. O'Connell's CBS School, Dublin, Ireland 1992/3. This should be a movie. A kid took a bunch of magic mushrooms and ran around the halls at lunch in his undies. A horde of campus security and coaches were chasing him until they cornered him on the bed of someone's truck. They were at a standoff and the kid was yelling, "Come any closer," and the briefs come off. A coach managed to sneak behind the kid from another parked truck and tackled him off. I imagine this guy had a bucket on his head that fell off during the chase, only to reveal a second bucket. Some of these stories are shocking and unreal. Meanwhile, the only interesting thing to ever happen at my old school is that once a dog got inside and it was running up and down the corridors and everyone was petting it. I attended just a pretty small town school in rural Yorkshire, UK. High school, a boy's dead body was found in a rolled up wrestling mat in the school gym. The town split in half over whether or not it was a freak accident or foul play. This was almost 5 years ago and it's still unresolved. A few people's lives have been ruined from false accusations and the victim's family can't find peace or the answers they want. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it hit the news pretty hard. That one is so odd. I've tried to decide for myself what might have happened, but I still can't figure it out. Someone wasn't watching a special ed girl. She escaped the school and went missing for hours. We all went home 3 hours late and we had helicopters circling all around our school. They eventually found her dead at the bottom of a pond right next to our school. Years later I became close with someone and he told me he was the one that was supposed to be watching her. 2 players on the football team led a third player into the woods to buy drugs, had a pre-dug grave, and killed him with a hammer and buried him. It was allegedly because the guy had raped one of their girlfriends, but I think it came out later that she had lied because she got caught cheating. One of the guys ended up turning himself in after the guilt got to him. It was pretty crazy though. Over Christmas break of my sophomore year in high school, our principal was pulled with over twice the legal bag. Instead of being immediately taken to jail as he should have been, he was escorted home. Over the next week he was on almost every local news station and even got a minute or two segment on CNN. Needless to say, the faculty didn't think it was a laughing matter, but the students found it hilarious and spent the remaining weeks of break having t-shirts made saying things like "I partied with Dr. Siverson and lived good times." I went to a military boarding school. A kid, A, who got into UCLA, Ike, with a scholarship got into a fight with this other kid, B, over his girlfriend. A was dismissed from the school, which was a synonym for expelled. For whatever reason B was allowed to stay. After he received the news, A went around saying goodbye and giving hugs, then went to the top floor of a dorm during our free hours and jumped headfirst to his death. It was very tragic and very hushed by the academy. We had a guy who didn't want to be there, but his father, Korean Navy, wouldn't let him come home. So he took the 50-foot header onto concrete way out. A few kids stole a propane tank and locked themselves in a garden shed to sniff the gas. Then one of them decided to light a cigarette, blowing the shed to smithereens. Fortunately nobody died, but some of them had to be hospitalized for a long time. This kid my junior year poked the head of his dick out of his pants during the football pictures. No one noticed till the yearbooks came out, and he was almost charged as a sex offender. Made national news. I saw this one in the news. There was a teacher who had left my school and went to work at another school a year after I was in their class. The teacher performed a science experiment that went horribly wrong without the proper safety procedures and ended up setting a student on fire. Please subscribe for more Reddit binge.